Hello, welcome and thanks for joining us today for the next webinar in our What's New series. Before we dive in, I just want to say that if you are here expecting Jennifer Benge, you are in the right place. She's just on annual leave at the moment. Now, Jenny has presented this series of webinars for the best part of 3 years. However, it's quite likely that I'm going to be hosting these webinars for the foreseeable future. So please bear with me. This is my first live webinar for Bedroq. So, in today's webinar, we'll cover some of the newest features in Microsoft 365 that you can implement with your business, as well as covering some brand new features that are coming in the next few months. Don't feel like you need to make notes or take it all in straight away, as we'll be sending out a recording of the webinar and a follow-up fact sheet later today. Also, if you have any questions, please feel free to drop them into the Q&A box at the side at any time. I'll do my best to keep an eye on them as we go along, but there will be dedicated time for questions at the end of the webinar. So, today's agenda. First up, we have news on the future of live events, upcoming Copilot updates, quality of life changes coming to Outlook, setting expiration dates on all shared links, embedding PowerPoint presentations in SharePoint, and then finally, what's coming next. So, let's start with an introduction. It's good to see so many people coming back and joining us again, and welcome to all of the new faces as well. My name is Craig Mundy, and I'm the Marketing Campaign Executive at Bedroq. You might recognize my voice from other videos on our website or YouTube channel, but if not, I'll try not to be too offended. Bedroq is an IT managed service provider and Microsoft Solutions partner for modern work. This means that most of the IT we implement is based on the Microsoft stack. So that includes things like Microsoft 365, Microsoft Teams, and Azure, etc. We're also experts in secure, resilient networks and managed IT solutions where high performance is critical. We work with organizations that have some of the highest security requirements in the UK, managing mission critical IT and operational technology for these highly regulated organizations throughout the UK. The most important thing we want to achieve, no matter what your organization does, is to make sure that your IT strategy is supporting your business as a whole. We do this with the help of our 8 strategic rocks that you can see on the screen here: data, skills, backup, strategy, investment, security, quality of service, and collaboration. That final rock, the collaboration rock, is the focus of this webinar series, as most of the Microsoft 365 apps that we're talking about are collaboration tools. Many people we come across have invested heavily into their IT, have bought all of these apps, they've got the best Microsoft licenses, but they're not using them to their full potential and therefore not seeing the best return on investment. So really, that's the aim of this webinar series, to keep you up to date with everything that's coming out and everything that you can start to implement that you probably already have access to, and hopefully this will make a big difference to your business strategy. Okay, let's kick things off then. We've got a nice bit of news to start with, especially if you're like us at Bedroq and prefer hosting live events compared to the town hall events. So the big news is Teams live events will no longer be retired on the 30th of September 2024, as previously announced. Microsoft will, of course, be focusing their time on town hall updates, and this is where the new features and value will land. But in the meantime, while they're still updating Town Hall with all of those features that are being requested from the community, I will happily continue to use live events. As far as I've read, they've not stated when or if live events will still be retired sometime in the future, but I'll be sure to keep you updated and include it in another webinar when and if I hear a bit more. I'll also be keeping an eye on the updates coming to Town Hall, so I'll be sure to let you know when and if we are going to make the switch. But let me know your thoughts in the chat. Are you making the switch to Town Hall from live events? Do you prefer one over the other? I'm keen to see how you feel about these changes. Next, I'd like to take you through a few smaller but still impactful Copilot updates that are scheduled to be released by the end of this month into early August. So let's start with using Copilot in meetings without recording a Teams meeting. If you don't want to record or transcribe any confidential meetings that you're having in Teams, then you can still engage with Copilot when it's set to only during the meeting, as you can see in the red box here, which is within your meeting options in Teams. When you join a meeting, you select the Copilot button at the top to open it on the right-hand side of the meeting view. As you know from all of the previous webinars and Jenny talking you through Copilot updates, it can generate notes, list tasks, and much, much more. Remember, with this conversation, nobody else in the meeting is able to see that conversation between you and Copilot. Now, if someone were to turn on transcriptions or recording during this meeting, Copilot will continue to be available, and the content of your conversation with Copilot will be available in the meeting's recap tab. But this will be starting from when the transcription was turned on. And now the new feature, it may not be the newest overall, but the only during the meeting setting, when that is selected, Copilot will allow a language selection during this meeting. So this is without it being transcribed or recorded. This ensures that any of your responses are in the chosen language, even when it's not being recorded. So this is due late July to early August. Here we have a nice quality of life update coming between now and mid-July. Copilot will have improved time-based responses in Teams chats and channels. So Microsoft is enhancing Copilot's ability to understand and respond to these time-related queries using terms such as yesterday or last month, or as you can see in the picture, a specific month of March. Again, in the before and after pictures, you can see that using the same prompt, you will get a much more accurate summary of the key actions from this specific time frame that you ask about. This is probably where the Copilot should have been on release, but this is the kind of information that Copilot users would expect to gain. But thankfully, as I say, it will be coming between now and mid-July to help you catch up and get up to speed quicker if you've missed a chat or post, or maybe, as it is July, you've just been on holiday for a little while. Another quality of life improvement coming to Copilot this month is more optimized file link support within Microsoft Teams chats and channels. So prior to this update, if a user attached a file to a message, it would not appear when someone asked for the files through Copilot, sorry. But later this month, following the update, attached files will now be included within the response. Additionally, if a user pastes a link to a file in the chat, Copilot will be able to retrieve these links faster and more reliably. It may seem like quite a small thing, but I have occasionally found it frustrating trying to find a specific file in a specific chat using Copilot. So hopefully this will help us go about our day-to-day work a little bit quicker by being able to find these links and files in just a few seconds through Copilot. This will be due, this feature is due to come through mid to late July. Just seen a quick question in the chat asking if the slides are going to be shared after this. They absolutely will be. I'll be sending out an email that has a recording and a fact sheet. Okay. Here's the last Copilot update that I want to touch on for today. It's a new catch-up tab that is coming to Copilot, Microsoft 365 and Teams. So Copilot users will see the catch-up tab on the online version of the Copilot page, as well as the Copilot app within Microsoft Teams. The catch-up tab will, as you can see on the slide here, offer a carousel of cards, each with an update related to an important meeting or document, along with detailed suggestions on that card of how to catch up. Similarly, to the improved time-based responses I talked about earlier, this will be great for those of you who are in too many chats to keep on top of, or again, maybe you've just been on annual leave for a little while. so you'll be able to come back and get caught up with the most important actions straight away. This feature should be due anytime now until the end of the month. Okay. Now, in keeping with the theme of some smaller updates, improving the overall Microsoft stack, let's move on to a few Outlook improvements. Firstly, starting this month, the Outlook for Windows app name will change to Outlook Classic. So this is a tiny change, but as they've not pushed the switch to new Outlook yet, it might just help you keep on top of distinguishing the two icons for now. The next change I'd like to highlight is, as you can see on the screen, the improved suggested times for meetings in new Outlook and the Outlook web version. So in these versions of Outlook, when you set up a new meeting, you can click the Find a Time button to help you automatically find suggested times and dates that work for all participants invited to your meeting. Now, if you click on this button, you will get a screen that looks something like this. And with the update, it will look like the one on the right. As you can see from these pictures, it is a slightly more succinct summary at the end. As you can see, a more succinct summary of the date and times with small icons to identify how many of the participants the suggestions will work for. So in the after picture on the right-hand side, you can see that there's 2 green little people and a grayed out one, meaning that 2 out of the 3 people are able to come, whereas the other 2 dates work for everybody. Now, I know a lot of you have very full diaries yourselves, and I'm sure you have that one colleague that anytime you look at their diary for a meeting, they just there's no time at all, and it's impossible to find the time, despite them saying, oh, have a look at my diary and book in some time. It never works out that way. So now, rather than having to click through days, weeks, or maybe even months in advance, you can use the Find a Time button to help you quickly find a time and date that suits everyone. This feature will be due early to late July. Now, while we're talking about meetings and invitations, there are RSVP improvements coming in the event context menu of new Outlook and the web version. So Microsoft are introducing small changes to the calendar event right-click menu in those 2 versions, the new Outlook and the web version of Outlook, which will be making it easier for users to respond to meeting invitations from the calendar screen. All RSVP options, so that's yes, no, and maybe, will now be on the first level of the menu rather than hidden under a secondary RSVP menu option. Also, users will now be able to choose between responding to all events in the series or just this current instance of the meeting. This is great for both the meeting organizer and, on the flip side, as an attendee, as you're able to provide more context and information, letting the organizers know ahead of time who will be attending and in what form, be that virtually or in person. And you're also able to choose if it's for the entire series of meetings or just that one instance. This update should also be available from early to mid-July. Right, this next feature has previously been available on shared links that were set to anyone. And soon you'll be able to set the expiration date on any shared links. So on the left-hand side, it's anyone, people in your organization, and people that you choose. In the next few weeks, you'll be able to set the expiration time on all of these links, so you have a bit more control as to when the access to these files expires. This should be beneficial in a few different ways. Firstly, it can enhance security, as it will automatically revoke access after a set period of time, reducing any unauthorized access risks. It can also improve information management, as it promotes regular updates and potentially even cleaning up of old data. On a GDPR front, it could potentially help you meet regulatory requirements by putting a set cutoff date on files that, say, contain customer information. And lastly, generally, it's going to help with admin efficiency, as it automates the admin process, saving time, limiting errors, and reducing that inevitable headache that your head of IT is going to have. Now, I'm sure there's many more use cases, but overall, it seems quite a useful update that we should all have access to from early to mid-July. Okay, so this next section isn't necessarily a new feature that's just been updated, but it might be a new feature to yourselves or give you a new idea on how you can do things. So this came in the form of a request through an email, and I'm going to try and answer the question and talk you through the process of how to do it. So the email read, "We are using PowerPoint in a Microsoft 365 corporate environment, and we have put together various guides that we would like to issue around our teams for them to work. But for them to work effectively, we need them to only open in presentation mode." It says, "I've had a few attempts at this, for example, saving them as a Microsoft PowerPoint slideshow. So this is a .ppsx file, but in all cases, the file has opened up in edit mode for the user." Now, I've gone away and done some digging. I've talked to a couple of my colleagues, and it seems that this is a known issue that occurs when a PowerPoint slideshow file is shared through Teams, SharePoint, or opened in the web version of PowerPoint. Also, there doesn't seem to be a direct solution, but rather a couple of alternatives to overcome this issue. So firstly, you could just save the file as a slideshow, as you said, a .ppsx file, and then send it directly to people through email to ensure that the file type stays the same. Another option is saving the PowerPoint as a video or an MP4 file, as you can see on the left-hand side of the slide here. And this will automatically play through any of your animations, through all the slides, etc. And whoever's watching it would just need to pause it intermittently so that they have enough time to read through all of the content. Another option that would require a lot more setup, but it could be the best option for you, is to set up a space for your guides through Microsoft Viva. I can maybe touch on this on another webinar if people are interested. And finally, the one that I'll take you through today is embedding files onto a SharePoint page. With all of these options, I'd recommend ensuring that the permissions are set to view only for the team members needing access to these PowerPoints, as to avoid any unwanted edits or changes. So in order to set this up, you shouldn't need admin powers, but there might need to change some permissions so that you're able to add a new page to SharePoint. Once you're able to do so, add a new page, and you should get something that looks a little bit like this on the left-hand side. Once you're here, if you look at where the red box is, there's an edit section button. So when you click on this, it will open the section panel on the right-hand side of the screen, where you can edit layouts, backgrounds, different colors, images, and a few different settings as well. For this example, I've set one of the sections to have 2 columns in it, and then using one of the big plus sign symbols, again on that left-hand bar that you can see there, I add another section that has 3 columns in it. I've also added some background colors so that you can see how you can separate the content. And it'll look a little bit like this. So once you have your columns or the sections that you're happy with, how you want to have the content, when you hover over the top of that box, you will see a message or an option that says add new web part in column 1, 2, 3, whichever one it is. You can see that in the red box on the left there. Once you click that, it'll open up a little window that you can see in the bigger red box on the right that gives you all of the options that you can scroll through. And these are the options for the types of content that you can embed into your SharePoint page. For the purpose of this, we'll just be using files and media, which when you click on it, will open up a file explorer type web page for you to navigate through your SharePoint files to find the chosen PowerPoint, in this example, file that you would wish to put into the page. And once you've gone through all that, each of the columns and each of the rows, each of the sections, sorry, it might look something a bit like this. So this is a rough example of how you could present PowerPoints to your team that needs access to these guides that we talked about earlier. You can easily just put one per page, one per column, as much or as little as you want, really. I just wanted to demonstrate how much content you could put on a single page, really. So as you can see from the red box in the bottom right-hand corner, you can also view any of these slideshows in full screen and go through them with the animations as you would normally do. But equally, you can see at the bottom of each of those slide decks, one of 20, one of 19, you can click through them that way as well. So if Chris is here, the person who asked the question, I hope that this explanation has helped a little bit of some of the options that you could go through. Please don't hesitate to let me know if it has helped or not. I can happily talk you through it a bit more in depth as well. If anyone else has any similar queries or topics like this that you'd like me to address, just let me know and get in touch and we can have a conversation about that. Just so you know, we've also got a how-to series that I've been running for Bedroq over the last few months, which takes you through step-by-step how to use certain features and apps in the Microsoft stack, and they can be found on our YouTube channel. It has been on a bit of a hiatus recently, but I'm hoping to find some more time to make videos for it. So if you have any suggestions or requests for videos, please do just let me know. And that's us for today. We've whizzed through the content. So I just wanted to quickly let you know about the next webinar in this series that will be coming next month. It will be taking place on the 8th of August, and you can register for that now on our website or through the link that my colleague Cara will post into the chat very shortly. We look forward to seeing you all there, and if you have any topics or questions you wish for me to cover or to look into, then just let me know and I'll happily have a conversation and look into it. That should be it in the chat now. That should be the link in the chat now. So if you just want to make sure that that event is in your diary, please go ahead and register just now. Remember that all of these webinars are recorded and accessible through our YouTube channel and website, so make sure you have a look through them if you're interested in learning more. Now, I'll quickly take you through our stakeholder workshop that we run. It's called the 8 Rocks Assessment. It goes back to those 8 rocks that I talked about at the beginning of the webinar. This is a stakeholder workshop designed to get consensus on your business priorities. It can be conducted face-to-face or virtually, and it gets the leaders and investors of your organization aligned behind the best way to fully assess and improve your IT strategy. Now, there's no costs implications within this, it's just a mutual investment of time from all the parties. So if you're an IT leader at your organization and maybe you just need a bit of backup to prove to the CFO or similar titles that you need to make an investment into your IT, or if you're simply looking at ways that you can better use existing IT investments, then we'll be happy to look at all of these things for you. So if this is of interest, just let us know and we'll be happy to set this up and introduce you to the team that will walk you through this process. Okay, so we've got a bit of time for Q&A now. If you have any questions that have come to mind, please put them into the chat just now. I'll just have a little read and see if anything has come through just now. So we have a question from David pointing out that I referred to quality of life through a few of these updates, and he's just asked me to define it, and you're spot on. Does this refer to features that are designed to make your work easier? Yes, that's it. It's just an easier way of saying that they're small improvements to how things should work, and hopefully little by little just helps your work flow a little bit and you don't have to get frustrated by these little things not working. And it just, yeah, quality of life improves the way in which you use that app, that program, that little feature. Thanks for that one, David. Okay, so it looks like that's all the questions we have for today. So if you have any more questions, please keep thinking about them. Perhaps something will pop into your mind when you're reading through the fact sheet or rewatching the recording later today. So please feel free to reply to that email that I'll be sending out after the webinar. I'll be happy to help with any queries about this webinar or anything else that you have, and I can always look into covering those in a future webinar as well. So again, thank you all very much for joining us today. I hope you have a great rest of your weeks, and I look forward to seeing you again soon. Goodbye.